have hacks, but we got Shax now, man. We got Shax involved in the game, and he's going to be looking to perhaps be on a Junkrat. I'm not sure if they're going to... Okay, they are going to be sticking with this. And Super Pluke is in the mix. I imagine they're going to want to play Pluke a lot more.
Because of their Reinhardt.
Yeah, because of the Reinhardt back in play, Nox is obviously more formidable on a Winston, especially like a peeling kind of Winston. Sometimes can be aggressive as well. So I think we'll probably see, obviously we saw a lot of Nox before in the group stage with a lot of dive. This time I think we'll see a lot of Super Pluke, but already starting things off, Eagle Gaming losing out. Hype going to be going down quite early on, and May from Nico offensively is just not getting that wall down in time to be able to either A, prevent the damage, or B, separate the defense to maybe start getting some opening picks going. And expect a lot of interplay between Super Pluke and Nico with that wall, where he can charge someone into that wall and they can break it down already with a pick in their favor.
We'll see if they can keep it up. This is a very nice sight to behold, however. Cruz once again back on the Lucio. We've seen him be bloodthirsty on that Mercy. We'll see whether or not we'll be finding more success here on the Lucio. Once again, one of the better Lucios in Europe, of course, mechanically speaking, as the wall will find its first target. Super Pluke definitely coming out on top with that particular kill, but Shax will look to answer with a Riptide. Doesn't find the kills, however, and now with the Blizzard as well, Super Pluke will be the one coming out on top with the rest of his team, and they should be looking to get this first point pretty early on.
That was a very early Blizzard. I mean, typically you'd see the Blizzard coming out probably on average about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes. He got that one in about a minute, and especially exciting to see is the fact that he got that after having to back out of an initial fight. Like, it wasn't just two chained together fights that they were looking good on. They lost that first fight pretty early and pretty easily, so to be able to secure that in that kind of time, that's really impressive to see from a May player. Now he's going to swap over. They're going to go with that triple tank. Artist is still going to be on that McCree, and expect to see a lot of this kind of lineup together with this hit scan player here of Hardest. They can put the Graviton down. That's a Deadeye, but they lay them flat. Time with a huge play.
And we'll see the return Graviton as well. Just group them up. Self-destruct is gonna come through. However, some kills still coming out of Eagle Gaming as they still find their way onto this payload. And now getting another one into Facility. Hip coming out with a double kill of his own on that Zenyatta is gonna help the rest of his team to eventually come out on top with another team fight win.
Huge play from Tonic, but just not enough. And a lot of adjustments being made now for Orgless and Hungry. Cruz is certainly happy to be on a Lucio back on the main as opposed to the Mercy, but he was good on the Mercy, man. He found a lot of kills. He was fun to watch on it, but they're going to start things off. Ebbs, of course, going through with a huge coalescence. They are diving all over this team. There is no hope, no mercy, and more ways than one as well. Orgless and Hungry are going to take that fight pretty easily.
Just an easy dash kill there coming out of Facility with the help of Ebbs on that Moira, and just like that, they finally get a good defensive hold at the very least, and we will see another swap, or actually two swaps, come out of Eagle Gaming. Hardest will go over to the Roadhog Hip, swapping to a Moira of his own, so we'll see whether or not this will pay off in the end, as so far we'll see them group up, try and speed towards the point with the help of that cover. We'll be managing to get on top, and as we'll see the rest of the team on the high ground here for Orgless and Hungry. They're going to look to collapse on top. Ipu drop extremely low, but does manage to find that cast with the Sound Barrier, and as a result, it's going to be kills going in favor of Eagle Gaming, as they will look to once again get another team fight win and continue the pain train. 2 minutes 50 seconds remaining. Super Pluke getting a second kill there. Hardest picks up Shax in the end, and Eagle Gaming looking like a whole different beast right now.
They're definitely showing us a much better look. They looked quite formidable with the dive in the group stage. I think that was probably the best that we saw from them. They secured their last win. It made them look good in their final match, or some of their final matches, and especially their final match against what was a strong Those Guys roster. But they've really stepped things up, and I think in a big way, even more so now that they have this opportunity to kind of get Super Pluke back in the mix. They have this ability to kind of play this tank setup, which I think really helps them out a lot. This is going to be a self-destruct. Caught on the wall. They won't find anything here. Shax does get a kill and to get amazed. That's going to deny the Graviton in this fight. So they're going to be able to back out of this one, just buy a little bit more time on this fight, as Tonic getting very aggressive going forward. And as we do see Get Amazed coming back into it, that'll be an opportunity for the attacking team, for Eagle Gaming, to perhaps get a little ground covered once again with this Graviton as a possibility.
And Hardest does have the Deadeye as well. He will be looking to get into an angle potentially here, as Get Amazed might set up for that Graviton, but the Riptide is going to come through, and we'll see Shaq still getting Get Amazed. And that's a huge pick at that, considering the fact that he does have the Graviton good to go. And just like that, we'll see Orgless and Hungry push the opposition away back towards their spawn, and very nice target found there by Shax.
Soundberry will also kind of take Hardest out of the equation at least a little bit. It'll cause this Deadeye to take a little bit longer. He's going to pull it out, but they need to get this Deadeye, or they need to get the Soundberry out now, and that does exactly the job it's supposed to. Ooh. Although Hardest just sticks it out, nobody puts any pressure on him. They put a Soundberry out themselves, and that's just enough security for him to hold it through. Finds 2 kills. Shax's now returning with a Riptire behind it and gets another kill. They're going to be firing back here, and in a big way, surging back into this fight. Fancy gets put down on the floor. Super Fluke saving the day. That looked like Orgless and Hungry might have been able to take that fight, but it's returned again. Tonic with an Earth Shatter of his own all over the place here, as we're going to be seeing respawns coming out from both sides, and now Tonic takes out Super Fluke, but he goes down as well.
Such an interesting back and forth between these two teams that we will see at the very least. Eagle Gaming still coming out ever so slightly on top, managing to continue that push on the payload, and now Shax being contested by Nico will make things even more difficult for August and Hungry to hold. Hard is going to pop that Deadeye, gets Epps in return, and now we'll see Tonic once again on that payload. Will be pushed around, and he finds Hardest, and the Graviton is going to come out. All the different members caught on top, and that will make things easy for Tonic to just cleave his way through the Eagle gaining lineup. And even with the Coalescence coming out, it will be Orgless and Hungry still holding out in the end.
And with these Gravitons, with how huge they've been so far, we're seeing so many Earth Shatters on both sides, with Super Fluke and Tonic able to charge these up so quickly with that cleave damage, getting some fire strikes off. I mean, it's been insane to see these Reinhardts. I wouldn't be surprised to see these guys having silver or gold damage. I mean, they're putting out insane amounts of pressure, even on the front lines now, as Super Fluke finds the first kill onto Cruz. That's going to take the sound barrier out of the equation. That's a big kill. Self-destruct going straight through. They're going to block that off, and that's going to allow space for a huge Earth Shatter again from Tonic, but it's the self-destruct from Nico that might save it here, as Vasily and Tonic are out. But Cruz comes back through. That's a 4-man. Sound barriers, they tried to get something going here, but it's going to get very difficult now, as Get Amazed finds 2 kills with a right click. And coming back into the fight now, it's going to be Tonic, it's going to be Facility, but they could not get it done. And on the attacking side, Eagle Gaming finishes the map.
And even though you said during the group stages you weren't really getting amazed by Get Amazed's play, this time around definitely coming huge on top of that Zarya. And we'll see if they can keep it up, because with 42 seconds remaining, things are still going to be pretty difficult for Orgless and Hungry to make sure that they do manage to find that distance covered on the payload, and even started as a whole. We'll see more potential full holds on first points now that Mercy is out of the equation for the most part in terms of compositions. Of course, we might see her still being picked up if on the offensive side we might have a Farah come out here for Orgless and Hungry, but Eagle Gaming, man, definitely looking way better.
Definitely a better look, as I was talking before, and looks like Shax was lagging, so he's going to just restart his game right now, so we'll be able to get back into it pretty soon here. But 42 seconds, still a lot of time taken off, but they have just enough to be able to potentially work with on a second attack should they need it. Nico was looking phenomenal on the Mei. I think that was a really good play from them to be able to kind of catch the defense off guard. I don't think Orgless and Hungry really expected that, because Nico was really able to do a lot there. The wall didn't really do the primary job of just being able to set up that early pick. They saved him. You know, we saw the projected barrier come out. We saw Tonic able to kind of get away. But overall, we still saw Mei really doing exactly what Mei needs to do. Control on the point, shut down some of the tanks, and put pressure on them. We saw this before. Last time there was a huge tank meta. Now it's resurging, where Mei was a big answer for that, where, because you're able to kind of control them, you're able to slow them down. That's a big reason why the tanks are so strong, is because you have that Lucio boost. But if you put things back on the other side, you get that Mei, you slow them down, it becomes a pretty solid counter, especially with walls being involved. You can split them in half. You can kind of force them into creating a unique choke on the map as well, where before it wasn't there. Catch them off guard in that way, so they don't have that ability to kind of move freely throughout. So I do like that. I think Nico was smart to pull that out, and Eagle Gaming was intelligent from their coaching staff perspective as well to be able to put Nico in there and tell him, go for it, have that look, put that in. But now as we attack on the side of Orgless and Hungry, Shax is going to be back on the Junkrat. Nico's going to be matching up against him. Hardest, who was pretty solid on the McCree. He's looked pretty good throughout this tournament, but Eagle Gaming just hasn't looked the best so far, so it's been hard to see. He hasn't really been able to shine as much as some of the other standout guys, being that he's on Soldier and McCree, and his team has been kind of hot and cold, but now as Eagle Gaming looks to perform a little bit better here in the playoffs, and it looks like that's the case, perhaps Hardest can kind of stand out a little bit more now.
We'll see if he's gonna continue that trend that so far. We'll not really able to get any advantage on either side. Nico just getting a little bit of an edge in terms of that ultimate advantage potentially coming in here, but we'll see some interesting positioning from both sides as Shax is going to be able to find the first 2 kills to start this fight off, and just like that, no hacks required indeed as Shax picks up a quad kill. An absolute monster on that Junkrat. Even now we will see Hardest pick up the decent onto Frenzy, but oh man, Orgless and Hungry starting out very strong here on Hollywood.
Shax's back in the mix in a big way, and everybody before this patch came through, I'm so ready to not see Junkrat. Well, I have some unfortunate news for you, but either way, a little bit of a grenade battle. Shax's gonna get the better end of that one. And another matchup coming your way here in the form of Tonic versus Superpluke. They're coming at each other extremely aggressive. There's the Earthshatter that comes through. They catch Superpluke. They put him on the floor. They find the kill. Shax is again cleaning things up here. He already won the battle between him and Nico and now helped win that frontline war. They're going to go ahead and just push this payload on through. They have the Rip Tire still available. They could pull that out in this choke here where it's going to be very safe for them to just leave it right outside the doorway. I think this is going to be looking like another pretty easy fight for Orgless and Hungry.
And with that Graviton has said coming out of Facility, could shut down this defensive lineup, but Hardest coming out with the Deadeye is gonna find Tonic actually, so 1 kill achieved off of it. Ipu did go down, however, and now Shax could potentially have free reign alongside the rest of his team to just rain down on top of that Graviton, but Get Amazed finally gets taken down. Superpluke still swinging away on top of that point, but it's all about Orgless and Hungry as they continue to storm on top of that payload, looking for more kills, and even Soundberry coming up soon here for Cruz is going to be very difficult for Eagle Gaming to have a potential hold, but Superpluke coming into this one, or rather the next team fight with an Earthshatter, could still potentially do something here for Eagle Gaming.
Shax's going to be encroached upon on that high ground, but again, Orgless and Hungry cleaning up. They don't even really need ultimates to get these kills, and now we're going to be seeing a sound barrier ready for Orgless and Hungry, but I don't think they're going to need to pull it out. They're going to be able to go ahead and pull the Coalescence out of the fight as well. Shax is all over this kill feed. You look over in the top right, at any point in this game, and I would almost guarantee that you see Shax's name up there. It doesn't matter what time. They could be paused and in between rounds, and I think you'd still see Shax's name up there, taking a quad kill or something like that, especially on this Junkrat. But obviously showing a lot of versatility, this guy here, because he's looked just as good rather, on the Tracer as he has on the Junkrat and everything else that he's pulled out. But Facility now holding on to a Graviton. We could see a little bit of a Graviton battle between these guys as both Reinhardts are ready to go with the Earthshatter, so expect a lot of aggression. That's the Graviton's going to pull Superpluke into it. They Reptire him just to secure that kill. Now a lot of control for Tonic just to open this thing up, but it's going to be the self-destruct. Can they block it off? And they do get a kill onto the Facility, but he already took out his Graviton, so they don't really need him that much in this fight other than to just keep his energy. Great projected barrier there from Get Amazed just to kind of help Nico a little bit, but they still will be able to find the kill there. Superpluke coming back in, but I don't see him trying to turn this around with an Earthshatter and try to secure this. I think it's just going to be trying to get everybody back together, get the defense, get the crew, everybody back aligned and everything like that, so you can try to make a hold here. You do have the ultimate advantage. I think this is a good play. Now we'll see Orgless and Hungry kind of coming back, getting organized themselves as they approach this next fight.
Oh, but Earthshatter gets blocked. Deadeye to follow it up, doesn't find any targets as of yet. will still potentially for one doesn't get anything done, and now that they've used Coalescence on top coming out of Hip, it will be Orgless' time to strike, but Shax is gonna go down not before getting the D-suit off onto Nico, so one possibility, one opening here potentially for Orgless and Hungry to continue through. Super Fluke dropping down to half, but the Graviton is good to go. And as a result, Cruz is going to be the first one to pick up a kill. Once again, Bloodthirsty on that support alongside Epps will find one of his own, but the counter Graviton is going to come through. But once again, we'll see another shutdown from Tonic. It's the second time they get Graviton on top, and he was just able to get that Earth Shatter as an answer. And it's going to be Shax on the cleanup for an easy round 2 completion here for Orgless and Hungry. We're looking even stronger than Eagle Gaming.
I mean, going into this, it looked like Eagle Gaming was going to be able to show out, and they were looking phenomenal. But 3 minutes and 25 seconds, the time bank that they're allotted here. We're going to be able to see if Nico wants to pull out that May one more time here, because that could certainly be the case, as they're going to be attacking right now. But, you know, going back and looking at it, while you do often see Finzi being, you know, that really solid Zarya player, you know, he's looked really good on it. I would say in this tournament so far, I think he's probably had the most impact on a Zarya pick that I can remember. You know, there's maybe some arguments to be had there, but from what I can remember, Finzi is definitely, you know, one of those standouts that you expect to see on a Zarya pickup. But Vizility is taking that up in a big way, because, you know, Tonic in a matchup against Superpluke, it's kind of going to come down to the Zarya play, isn't it? Because in that matchup, you know, obviously they're very, you know, evenly matched. They're going toe-to-toe. That kind of matchup sets the pace of a lot of these fights. But because of the fact that Vizility is just getting the better end of the deal between him and Get Amazed, it seems as though Tonic is just dominating that matchup, when it's really, I mean, it's not really Superpluke's fault, and it's not really Get Amazed's fault. It's just the fact that Vizility has been enabling Tonic so much over the course of their attack that Tonic has just had the opportunities to take Superpluke out of these fights and get huge Earth Shatters and huge kills off and be able to be very aggressive because they just have the control.
And we'll see no May come out from this lineup of Eagle Gaming this time around, as Hardest will still be on a McCree, look to contest Shax and Vizility on those very mobile flanking offensive heroes. But as I say that, it's just a bloodbath on top of the point. It's all about Eagle Gaming cleaning up house. This dive comp for Orgless and Hungry really not paying off here, and just like that, point going over to Eagle Gaming.
And I wonder actually why they wanted to pull that out. I mean, I think they thought that they were going to be seeing a different setup from Eagle Gaming, and I think they maybe phased them with that May pick, caught them off guard initially, and with that dive composition that we saw from Orgless and Hungry, I think they were just kind of expecting something similar, but they didn't get it. They got a tank lined up with the McCree, so when they dived back in, I mean, it was just ugly from them, and there was no hope for them to be able to get it. But Shax is now back on the Junkrat here on defense, looking to have a similar performance to what we saw on the offensive side, and it's going to be ultimates coming out now for Eagle Gaming. They threw two out, Hype and Hardest, both looking to engage here. Again, very, very good falling back there, being displayed, of course, by Orgless and Hungry. Great points of recession as well as they just go back through. But Hardest, again, with great picks on this McCree so far.
And we'll see Eagle Gaming once again coming out on top of this team fight. We'll push the opposition away. We'll have quite a few resources in terms of those ultimates being built up as well. Earth Shatter alongside Sound Barrier, and even potentially the Graviton out of Get Amazed could potentially secure that second point take, or rather second point in terms of that payload distance. And over on the defensive side, at the very least, they have a lot to work with themselves. So it's going to be a tough one to win out here for Eagle Gaming, but still doable.
Easily, I mean, with the distance that they've covered here. Graviton, though, ready for Vizility. They want to pull this out before Get Amazed throws out one of his own. They should be able to find some kills. Finzi coming up big with the self-destruct. Now looking to try to turn things back around. Superpluke with a huge fire strike inside the Graviton. They're going to catch them. Now looking to demech the Diva. Finzi getting a lot of heals. They will secure that. Overtime still ticking, and Eagle Gaming behind Get Amazed and Superpluke. I was just talking about that matchup and how important it is. They're going to be able to clean this up. Now we'll have to see if the Tire can close things out. They do find the kill on the Superpluke, but they get the objective secured. So Superpluke should be back pretty quickly here, despite not having the Mercy. That respawn is just so quick. And now Tonic is going to go down as well. Eagle Gaming might be able to run this one through.
Oh man, just Eagle Gaming somehow, someway still finding the results they were looking for, as after that beautiful Graviton into the bigger bang combo with Finzi picking up a triple, definitely looked very dire there for a second, but Tonic, or rather Super Pluke, still managing to find those Fire Strike kills and able to stay alive on that payload means that we'll continue to push through and look for even more as the Earth Shatter is going to pick up 2 or 3, and now Hard is going in for the Dead Eye, is going to get 1, and it's all about Eagle Gaming as Hip finds a D-suit as well as a kill with the Coalescent, and as overtime still ticks away, they're rapidly approaching that final checkpoint.
And if I'm Hardest, I go over to the Widowmaker, and there he goes, going over to it. He's going to be able to lend a huge amount of support with that long-range sniping damage. Nobody's going to be able to push him. They push it in. I think they actually got it. They did. They snuck it through.
They just pushed them away. Very nicely done. And Eagle Gaming, where it looked dire, just still through overtime managed to get that 6th point on the board, and where things were looking still really good for Orgless and Hungry. I mean, they really gotta keep up said performance when it comes to their offensive push if they will look to match Eagle Gaming, as they still have it in them.
It could be done. They looked phenomenal on their attack, but if at any point they get stopped, all that momentum is lost, and I think there were a couple of mistakes defensively that just allowed them to just run that one through with only a minute. I mean, you can't let that happen without mistakes being made, obviously. That fight at the second stage should have been in their favor, but they got very aggressive. They thought that they were just going to be able to just win that one out, and then kind of overextending their backline just a little bit caught everybody inside of that Graviton. They just didn't have the spacing for it, and then they just had Super Pluke turn that one on them. But still, they could get this one back in their favor. 3.5 minutes for them, and we'll have to see if they're going to be able to pull it off. But they have to run the entirety of the map, and I don't know. That's a pretty tough ask of anyone.
We'll be also favoring that bot tank composition once again for Eagle Gaming on the defensive side, which means Shax should have another easy setup potentially for a lot of ult charge towards that Riptire. But so far, looking to play quite aggressive here. Eagle Gaming in the front lines to push them away. Let's find a little bit of damage onto Tonic. However, quite a bit of charge on Facility for now is going to look to dish out quite a bit of damage, get that advantage when it comes to building up that Graviton. Tonic looking to potentially get a pick. Doesn't find anything off of the charge. Will at the very least stay safe for now. Looking to have that barrier up. Will be going down eventually. And Shax now getting it to high ground. Might make things really difficult, but very nicely done by Nico to make sure he gets contested.
They're spacing this out so well. Hype has now been able to heal just enough to get a Coalescence, so they might be able to sustain through the opposing Coalescence as they're looking to just hold this one out. Shags will find an opening kill on Defipo, and that's going to be a big one because it denies the Sound Barrier. There we see a Graviton coming out, and this is going to be, again, Eagle Gaming off the back of a Graviton, holding a fight down, being able to secure it. Hardest popping off, of course, on that Roadhog, and I think that's big for them because as he gets the whole hog, he's going to be able to space these fights out even more by just kind of throwing everybody off to the side. Self-destruct going in, won't find anything as Finzi tried to go for a little bit of a Poco ult there. Didn't find anything, unlucky for him. Now it's going to be an opportunity for Orgless and Hungry. Can they secure kills in a Graviton of their own? Do they need to use Tonic's Earth Shatter? What do they have to allocate to get this done?
It seems like they will commit for the Graviton. Sound Barrier is the answer, and the Earth Shatter does find Nico, but not anything else. And in return, Super Pluke picks free down on the ground, and as a result, this should eventually go into Eagle Gaming's favor, as they will have Get Amazing's Graviton on top once again. And Eagle Gaming with another excellent hold here, even though Shax now making over the swap to the Reaper won't be able to find too much work done.
I am now amazed. He's been averaging an ult a minute on the Zarya, just throwing these out, not just generating them, but just being able to actually pull them out every single time they have a fight to be able to secure them. Phenomenal stuff from Get Amazed. And with this huge energy pool, I wouldn't be surprised to see another one. He's already at 50%. There's still a minute left to go. Why not, man?
And with Shax, at the very least, getting close to that Death Blossom, that could be their opening for a teamfight win. But 52 seconds remaining. Coalescence is going to push them away for now, as it's going to look for a little bit of damage onto Finzi's mech. Doesn't find the kill quite yet. Tonic dropping extremely low, but the Death Blossom is there. Picks up a double, and now we will see just Orgless and Hungary entirely collapsing on top of the point, getting the team kill. Clinical execution there at the end, and Orgless and Hungary still in it.
Whew, that was scary though. Look at the
Oh, yeah.
ultimates for the defense. Super Pluke, dangerously close to that Earthshatter. Nico, dangerously close to that self-destruct. Peepo, the same. Hardest, the same. Get Amazed almost had his Graviton as well, and we've seen how they can turn fights with it. They only need to win one right here. They're going for it. They're aggressive. The Graviton comes down. Earthshatter follows. Super Pluke, Get Amazed all over the board right now. We see the self-destruct coming out. Finzi secures a kill. Facility trying to get back onto the objective, but he gets thrown off. Overtime ticking, and it's Shax here trying to hold down the fort in Wraith. As now he has the Death Blossom, he gets thrown off, looking to try to find some kills, sustaining himself for now, but Nico will find the kill. He comes back through. Cruz trying for a little bit of a desperate play here. On the Doomfist will get taken out, and Finzi is on the point, trying to create some space for the rest of this team, and he's doing just that. They are somehow able to pull this out. It was looking so dangerous for them, but Finzi making huge plays on this D.Va will help them secure it.
But even through that, they have to push that payload all the way to the checkpoint. Over time, kicking it in, and even with the swaps coming through, the advantage in terms of that, those ultimates are still in favor of Eagle Gaming, of course, and all they need to do is win one more team fight, and it's going to be tough, but Orgless and Hungry still trying to pull through as we see them get pushed away for now. Hip and Super Blue, though, dropping around about 50% goal. That's going to be popped by both sides, but Finzi picks up the first kill, and somehow can they still continue on the pain train as it's a 6v4. Orgless and Hungry still coming out on top with this one.
And they're going to be able to back them out here. Hardest trying to make a play, rolling all over the point. Finzi, though, along with the rest of these guys, able to secure it, and Shax coming up big there as well. 80% towards his Death Blossom. Tonic needs to come back into this fight quick, though. They're going to look to engage fast. Super Pluke already kind of in the area. They're going to want to engage on this because they don't have a Reinhardt to defend against this Earthshatter. He's going to walk himself right in. He's going to look for a big one. He lays a lot of people on the floor. It's a self-destruct to follow just to kind of help them get back into it. Nico finding a kill there. Hardest looking for one of his own, but it's Shax firing back. A huge Death Blossom. They secured the first point off of one of those. Now looking to secure the second. And they have to find kills now. Tonic with an Earthshatter, opening it up, puts two on the floor. One of them is Hardest. He finds the pin, looking to try to find the kill along with it. He will. Shax and Tonic together, looking to try to secure this objective. This is so back and forth, and in overtime, they get the fifth point, but they have 2, maybe 3 more fights that they have to win out. This has been heroic from Orgless and Hungry, but can they continue?
Well, when you have Get Amazed ready to fire that Graviton, it's going to be such a Herculean task. It's going to be very difficult for them to keep it up, but somehow, some way, back off of that Shax's excellent performance on the Reaper, seems like they still managed to find a potential pull through here at the very end, but Get Amazed is gonna go in. He's gonna go for the Graviton. Hardest gonna go for the Dead as well. Finds one target and to Cruz at that gets the D-suit as well. And with these final few kills, it's going to be Eagle Gaming finally closing it out with a surprising win. But whew, man, it was that a close one somehow, some way.
Incredibly back and forth. Get Amazed definitely stepped up on that first point. I think that gave them a lot of momentum defensively to be able to make some of these huge plays, get aggressive, feel confident, show a great display, and there it is, what secured the first point for them. Shax was looking great, but I think Get Amazed is the guy to look at for this matchup. He was just so crazy, and Super Pluke kind of showed out as well. But we have another map coming your way. That's only the first one down, and we'll be right back after these commercials.
Welcome back, everybody. One of the craziest maps we've seen so far in the Overwatch pit. Honestly, I don't know where to start. Either Nico May at the start of the match, the Shack Show on the regular attack time, and also the fact that Eagle Gaming actually managed to finish the whole map in a minute.
It threw overtime at that. It was just such an amazing back and forth. We talked about how close the series yesterday was between Angry Titans and CIS Hope on that first map, but today even pulling out an even more impressive map on Hollywood here between these two teams. And it's somewhat surprising because Eagle Gaming, if you look at them, they had a bad performance record with that group stage, but they were the ones who really made it close up against those guys. And on paper, this lineup really seems to have one of the highest potentials in the whole tournament. So it's really nice to see what they can do.
Yeah, they definitely look like a different team compared to the group stages. Maybe they were just saving their strategies for the playoffs, so to say.
Not sure about that one, but it will be Anubis here coming onto this next map. And we did see Eagle Gaming push it into a draw up against those guys. So they've been strong on this one, and now that they will be making a few swaps, I do believe it's going to be Flippy once again for them. Flippy being an exceptional Widowmaker, of course, he was a professional into Fortress 2 on that sniper, I believe, previously, so definitely gonna be a potential deadly target here for Orgless and Hungry.
Yeah, he's basically the key factor, I'd say, on this map. He was getting many picks with Widow, which basically allowed them to show some good performance on this map. Now it seems that they will start on defense. Do you think they might close out this series with a 2-0 victory?
That would be impressive to see, of course, but Orgless and Hungry, they kept it really close, and I think they still have what it takes to bring it back.
Anubis, Temple of Anubis is ready. Let's go.
So starting things off here, see Bod back in the mix. He's going to be on the Mercy. So this is something that I think people might be surprised about, maybe because of the changes that came through. People probably thinking that Mercy isn't going to be played. But here on Anubis, especially point A, I would say actually exclusively on point A, when you can get the high ground, when you can pocket out a very proficient, very solid, and consistent Widowmaker that is, of course, exactly what Flippy is. You play this Mercy here because, you know, the reses are a lot safer, you have the spacing to work with, you have the ability to kind of fly between both high grounds with Hype kind of taking up the other side, so that it's a little bit safer. You can always pocket the Widowmaker to get those lethal picks, can even find body shot kills at times as well. I think this is a really safe pick for them, and he'll probably slot for point 2, but he is already under fire here just to start things off.
Nox already being taken down on that Winston, and some return fire coming out of Nico. The rest definitely still there, but Get Amaze now getting desuited himself will be potentially in a bit of a trouble, but Nico still cleaning up house on the Genji. Will look to contest the opposition. However, look at this. Already one tick achieved, very close to that second one, as Flippy will be all the way on the other side. Here's what we'll see the attacking Widowmaker be. We'll clean up house, and Blade already good to go for Nico.
That's the kind of rotation you would like to see as well from the Widowmaker. Just being able to find those great sight lines to be able to really kind of suppress this tank lineup that can't get up to him outside of Finzi. It's really just going to rely on this Diva to try to contest him if they can. But if they do that, then they're more vulnerable in the front line, and that opens up things for guys like Nico, guys like Get Amazed as well. So it's a very tough task, I would say, for the offense now to try to get in there, throw Hype off of his positioning, and then get around and try to take advantage of the control that they have and those sight lines that they've acquired for themselves here on the objective.
But the Blade's gonna come out of Nico. Can he find those targets? Doesn't get anything just yet. He finally gets one kill onto Cruz, as Flippy is gonna be able to pick up a second, make that a second for Nico as well. Shax returns fire. What a kill of his own, but it's all about Eagle Gaming as they continue to hold, and again, nothing else achieved in terms of that point tick. And oh man, we'll see Shax swap over to the Widowmaker to just try and contest Flippy at this point, just trying to get something done for this team of Orgless and Hungry.
But Eagle Gaming has both support ults here, and I think that's very important because the Mercy ult is incredibly powerful. If they do get aggressive, Hype can keep them alive with the Transcendence, but it will pull him out of position. If he does go down early, or if he does fall after the Transcendence, Bot should be able to bring him back up with the Valkyrie res. Remember, it's not instant still, but they're still going to be able to get a ton of healing between the Valkyrie just chain healing with a regular primary and then Transcendence to follow. They're just going to be able to sustain for quite a long time here, should they even need it, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Hype now under duress. They're going to find the kill, but you know, that's fine. Bod does have a res if he needs it, and he will indeed go for it here just to get Hype back into it, but still holding out. Eagle Gaming, it just seems unrelenting here. They did manage to get one tick, almost two, but Eagle Gaming stopped them before that occurred, and they still have the Transcendence. 1 minute on the clock. I can't imagine that Epps and Cruz are going to be able to get their ults here. Maybe Cruz, but Epps, I just don't see it. So this the Transcendence probably won't come from him unless they're able to secure the fight right here.
And might be just back off facilities. Graviton Surge that they would potentially get something done, but Flippy now popping that infrared side will manage to find, or rather spot out. Even Shax coming in on that Tracer, looking for an angle. Will be unsuccessful for now. Will look to contest him, but with the help of Bod on that Mercy, should have an easy time staying alive for now. Graviton is gonna come through. However, the self-destruct, can he find the kills he needs? We'll see Hip come out with the Transcendence, and Nox is gonna be the first one to pick up a kill. Get Amazed answers with a kill off of the self-destruct himself as Hip finds Visibility, and with 18 seconds left on the clock, we might see a full hold on Anubis here, Hirix.
Looking at the group stage, Eagle Gaming towards the end, we're looking a lot better, and especially the turning point on Anubis here when they faced off against those guys. I think that was really kind of it. That's what set the tone for what we're seeing now. On the other side of the Orgless and Hungry fell flat to Squid, if I'm not mistaken. So it just seems like it's a continuation of that narrative of just one team showing up that they might have some problems perhaps that you can take advantage of, and Eagle Gaming finally finding their footing, and that is a huge defensive hold, holding them to 0 points on Anubis. I think it's the first time we've seen that in Pit so far. That just doesn't happen all that often. 4 minutes and only 62.9% captured out. And with the execution that we've already seen on this map in particular, especially between Nox, Nico, and now we're going to be seeing Get Amazed. I think Leaf might have been in the mix the last time around. But, you know, the execution that we can expect from this rogue-based dive that's going to be called by Nox, I think, here, I just can't expect anything other than a victory for Eagle Gaming right now. They already have the momentum coming out of that Hollywood win that they just got. They just had a huge defense. I think they're going to take their time, have a great kind of set a pace here for themselves, maybe even bring Flippy back over onto the Widowmaker, where Nico, Nox, and Get Amazed are just going to try to kind of push out some room for him to work with, find some picks as well, because Shax currently isn't on the Widowmaker. And then if we do see a high ground hold, I think Nox and Get Amazed and Nico are just going to be able to completely de-nest that and really kind of put some real pressure on that front line, where Flippy, if he does go on the Widow, he's going to be able to just light the kill feed up like crazy. I think this is going to be easy for Eagle Gaming.
And considering the fact they only need to be that 63% built on the point, should be a lot of time available for them to do just so. However, we'll see eventually Shax go over to the Widowmaker of his own. Epps will be answering with the Mercy. Usually we did see Cruz on that particular hero, but he will stick to the Lucy instead. So some differences when it comes to the compositions when compared to Eagle Gaming. And as said, considering how difficult this is going to be, not entirely sure if this is what you want to go for, really.
Well, we will see that Widow v Widow matchup. We'll see if Shaxx can knock Flippy down a peg, but Flippy has been really popping off, so we'll have to see what's going to happen here. They do have that same kind of composition in play, but they're using Cruz again on the Lucio. This is a defensive hold that we saw before from them. I'm still kind of not convinced just yet, but you know, it has looked good. We've seen good looks from it. And look at this patience again displayed by Eagle Gaming, looking for that opportunity to get in there. They're going to dive right on top of that Mercy res. That's a big pickup, as if they can find this kill, that'll be huge for them. They're still finding kills, but somehow Mercy got away. But look at the cleanup now for Eagle Gaming. That was so well executed. Again, wait for the kill on Shaxx. You put all of your confidence into Flippy to find that kill, win out that duel, and then as soon as they do, wait for that res. As soon as you hear that the Mercy is bringing that player back up, you jump right on top of it. You take them all down, force the counter dive, and then just completely dominate them from there. That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what we saw, and they're able to take the second map with ease. Eagle Gaming looking so much better than the group stages.
Oh man, with such a dominant performance to boot as well. I didn't expect this to be this really convincing coming out of Eagle Gaming. Yes, they looked better. Yes, I would have liked to seen them definitely improve overall, but with such a performance, they're looking unstoppable. But we'll be right back with the winners